It was Christmas Eve, the kind of night where the snow falls so thick it muffles every sound, turning the world into a silent, frozen tomb. Families were gathered around twinkling trees, children asleep dreaming of Santa, presents waiting beneath the branches. But in the shadows of those cozy homes, something darker was stirring, something that doesn't wear a red suit or carry a sack of toys. Something that watches from the cold, something that remembers every naughty deed and never forgets. These are 8 true creepy Christmas horror stories Santa wants you to forget. Real accounts from people who thought the holidays were safe until they weren't. Listen close, because once you hear these, you might never look at Christmas the same way again. My name is Mia Reynolds. I was 24 at the time, working part-time as an elf in the Santa photo booth at the big outdoor mall in Denver, Colorado. It was December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas, and the place was packed, kids screaming, parents rushing, holiday music blaring from every speaker. The line for Santa was wrapped around the fake snow village twice. Our regular Santa, a sweet old guy named Carl, had called in sick that morning with the flu. The mall manager panicked and called in a last-minute replacement through some temp agency. The new guy showed up right on time, no questions asked. He was taller than Carl, broad-shouldered, deep voice. He didn't say much, just nodded when we handed him the red suit and beard. We figured he was just shy or new. Everything went fine for the first couple of hours. Kids sat on his lap, smiled for the camera, got their candy canes. But around 6 p.m., when the sun had just set, and the Christmas lights were glowing against the dark sky, I started noticing little things. He didn't laugh the ho-ho-ho way Carl did. His was lower, slower, almost like he was forcing it. And the way he looked at the kids, it wasn't warm, it was studying them. Like he was memorizing their faces. One little boy, maybe 5 years old, climbed up and whispered something in his ear. The new Santa froze, completely. Didn't move for a good 10 seconds. Then he leaned in close and whispered something back. The kid's face went pale. He slid off the lap, ran to his mom, and started crying. The mom thought he was just overstimulated and left. I asked the photographer, Jake, if he heard what was said. He shrugged. Something about being on the list, kids say weird stuff. Then came the girl with the pigtails. She was maybe 7. She climbed up, all excited, and said, "Santa, I want a new bike and for my dad to come home from the hospital." The new Santa tilted his head. He asked her quiet, but I heard it because I was standing right there. "What hospital, little one?" She told him, "St. Joseph's, room 412, and she said her dad's name, Daniel Whitaker. Santa smiled under the beard. A slow, wide smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'll make sure he gets a very special visit tonight," the girl beamed, thinking it was magic. I felt ice in my stomach. After her turn, I pulled the manager aside. "Something's off with this guy. He's asking kids personal questions like..." "Too personal," the manager waved it off. "He's just trying to make it real. New Santas always overdo it. Chill, Mia." But I couldn't chill. Around 8 p.m., the mall started closing down. We were packing up the booth when I noticed the new Santa hadn't left yet. He was still in the chair, staring at the empty line like he was waiting for someone. I told Jake to go ahead and clock out. I'd finish locking up. I approached him carefully. "Hey, we're closing. You can change in the back?" He turned his head slowly. The beard was crooked now, like he'd been tugging at it. Under the white hair and fake glasses, his eyes were wrong, too dark, too still. "You're on the list too, Mia," he said, soft, calm. My heart stopped. I hadn't told him my name, not once. I backed up. "How do you..." He stood up, towering. The red suit looked too tight now, like it was straining against something bigger underneath. "I know everyone's name, and I know what they've done." I turned and ran toward the employee exit, but the mall lights were dimming, the corridors empty. I heard heavy boots behind me, slow, deliberate. I made it to the security office, slammed the door, and called the cops. They arrived in 10 minutes. Searched the whole mall. No Santa, no trace. The suit was found folded neatly in the changing room, beard and glasses on top, like he'd just walked out of it. The next morning, the news broke. A man had broken into St. Joseph's Hospital, room 412. Daniel Whitaker, father of the little girl with pigtails, was found unresponsive. Doctors said it looked like someone had smothered him with a pillow. No forced entry. No cameras caught anyone entering or leaving. They never found the intruder. But the little girl told police something that still makes my skin crawl when I think about it. She said Santa visited her dad that night. She saw him through the hospital window. He waved and he was smiling. My name is Tyler Brooks. I'm 38, married, 2 kids, Emma, 9, and Lucas, 6. We live in a 2-story house in rural Maine, the kind with a steep pitched roof covered in old cedar shingles. It's isolated, surrounded by pine trees, and every winter the snow piles up so high it buries the lower windows. This happened last Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2024. The kids were finally asleep after hours of excitement, stockings hung, cookies left out for Santa, lights twinkling on the tree. My wife Jenna and I were exhausted. We finished wrapping the last presents, had a glass of wine, and crashed around 11:30 p.m. I woke up at exactly 3:03 a.m. I don't know why, maybe instinct? The house was dead quiet, except for the low howl of wind outside. Then I heard it thump, 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 heavy footsteps walking across the roof right above our bedroom. At first I thought it was snow sliding off. Happens all the time in Maine winters. But these weren't random, they were deliberate. One foot in front of the other, slow, like someone pacing carefully so they wouldn't slip. I sat up, Jenna was still asleep. I listened. Thump, thump, thump. It moved from above the bedroom, toward the front of the house, toward the chimney. My stomach twisted. We have a wood-burning fireplace with a wide brick chimney that goes straight up from the living room. The kids had been talking about Santa coming down it all week. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and slipped out of bed. Barefoot on the cold hardwood, I crept downstairs. The Christmas tree lights were still on low, casting long shadows across the walls. The stockings were untouched. The plate of cookies sat there, one bite missing, Jenna's doing earlier. Then crunch. A loud scrape, like boots shifting on snow-covered shingles, directly above the fireplace. I froze in the middle of the living room, staring up at the chimney, heart hammering. Another step. Then silence. I told myself it was a raccoon or a branch, or the wind playing tricks. But then the footsteps started again, moving back the other way, toward the back of the house. Thump, 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 slower this time. Like whoever or whatever was up there was being careful, listening. I backed toward the stairs, phone shaking in my hand. I was about to wake Jenna and call the sheriff when I heard something worse, a low, muffled voice. From the roof, it wasn't words at first, just a deep, rumbling chuckle. Like someone trying not to laugh out loud. Then clearer, drifting down through the chimney like smoke. Ho, ho. Not jolly, not warm. It was dry, raspy, mocking. I bolted upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, locked it, and shook Jenna awake. Tyler, what? Someone's on the roof, I whispered. They're talking. She looked at me like I was crazy, but then she heard it too. Another set of footsteps, now circling the entire roof, slow and heavy. We sat there in the dark, holding each other, listening as the footsteps went round and round for almost 20 minutes. Every few laps, that same low chuckle. Sometimes it sounded closer to the chimney, sometimes right above our heads. At 3:47 a.m., it stopped, dead silence. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. At dawn, I went outside with a ladder and checked the roof. Fresh boot prints in the snow size 13 or bigger. Deep impressions, like the person was heavy. They circled the chimney multiple times, then led straight to the edge and stopped. No ladder marks, no tracks in the snow below. Just gone. The kids woke up excited, ran downstairs, and squealed about the half-eaten cookies and the presents. We never told them. But on Christmas morning, when Emma opened her stocking, there was something extra inside, a small, old-fashioned bell, the kind you hang on reindeer harnesses. It hadn't been there when we went to bed. And when she shook it, it made no sound. None at all. We threw it away that afternoon. But sometimes, late at night, even now, almost a year later, I still hear those footsteps. And that low, rasping chuckle. Especially on Christmas Eve. My name is Lauren Hayes. I'm 31, single, living alone in a small apartment in Seattle. Christmas has always been quiet for me since my parents passed a few years back. No big family gatherings, just me, a small tree, and maybe a takeout dinner. I like it that way. Simple, safe. This was Christmas morning 2024. I woke up around 8 a.m. to the smell of coffee. I set on a timer. I padded into the living room in my pajamas, expecting the usual, my one wrapped gift to myself, a new book, the little fake tree with a single string of lights, and nothing else. But there was something else. Under the tree, tucked behind my self-gift, was a plain brown package, no wrapping paper. No tag, no bow. Just brown paper, tied with red string, about the size of a shoebox. I stared at it. I hadn't bought anything else. No Amazon deliveries were due. No friends had said they were sending anything. My apartment building has a strict no visitors policy after 10 p.m., and the front desk would have buzzed me if someone dropped something off. Heart picking up, I knelt down and picked it up. It was heavier than it looked. Solid. I turned it over, no address label, no postage, no name. Just the red string knotted tight. I should have left it. Called the building manager, thrown it away. Instead, curiosity won. I cut the string with kitchen scissors. The paper fell away easily, revealing a plain white cardboard box underneath. Still no markings. I lifted the lid. Inside was a small porcelain doll. Old-fashioned, maybe antique. Porcelain face, glassy blue eyes, blonde curls painted on, wearing a faded red velvet dress. The kind of doll you see in vintage shops for hundreds of dollars. But that wasn't the creepy part. Pinned to the doll's dress was a handwritten note on yellowed paper, in neat, looping cursive. To Lauren, for all the Christmases you spent alone, I've been watching. Love, your secret admirer. My hands went cold. I hadn't told anyone I felt lonely at Christmas. Not friends, not family. I have none left, not even online. I keep that stuff private. I turned the doll over. On the back of its neck was a tiny engraved plate, made in 1947, property of E. Hayes. E. Hayes, my mother's initials. She died in 2019. She never owned dolls like this. She hated them, said they gave her the creeps. I dropped the box. The doll tumbled out, face up, staring at me with those perfect blue eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the apartment sounded like footsteps. Around 2 a.m. I heard it soft, like someone shifting weight in the living room. I grabbed my phone, flashlight on, and crept out. The doll was no longer on the floor where I'd left it. It was sitting upright on the couch, facing the Christmas tree. The red dress was smoothed out like someone had straightened it. I froze. Then I noticed something new. The doll's porcelain hands, previously empty, were now holding a small, folded piece of paper. I didn't want to touch it, but I did. I unfolded it. Another note, same handwriting. Next Christmas, you won't be alone. I promise. I threw the doll in the trash chute that night. Didn't even wrap it. Just shoved it in a garbage bag and sent it down. The next morning, Christmas Day, the trash was collected early. I watched from my window as the truck took it away. But when I came back inside, there was a new package under the tree. Same brown paper, same red string. I haven't opened it yet. It's been sitting there for almost a year. And every Christmas Eve since, I hear soft footsteps in the hallway outside my door. Slow, patient, waiting. My name is Connor Walsh. I'm 29, live in Austin, Texas. And I've always been the guy who jokes about being on Santa's naughty list. I'm not a saint, partied too hard in college, ghosted a few dates, maybe fudged a tax return once or twice. Nothing criminal, just normal guy stuff. I laugh it off every Christmas. Santa's got a long memory, I'd say to friends. Last year, Christmas 2024, I was single again, living in a one-bedroom condo downtown. I'd skipped the family trip to my parents' house in Houston, told them I had work. Truth was, I just wanted to be alone, binge Netflix, order pizza, and avoid the holiday guilt trips. Christmas Eve night, I was half asleep on the couch around 1:30 a.m. when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but it buzzed again, then a third time. Annoyed, I answered. Hello? A deep, calm voice on the other end, older, almost cheerful. Connor Walsh? Yeah. Who's this? A soft chuckle. You know who? I've got your list right here. I sat up. Dude, it's late. Wrong number. I hung up. 10 seconds later, the phone rang again. Same number. I blocked it. Then a text came through from a different number. You can't block me, Connor. Naughty list entries for 2024. Lied to your mother about why you're not coming home. Stole that parking spot from the old lady last week. That girl you matched with on Tinder, Katie, you never called her back after the date. She cried for days. More to come. My blood went cold. How the hell did they know all that? I'd never told anyone about Katie, not even my best friend. I texted back, who is this? Stop. Immediate reply. I'm the one who sees you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. And I know exactly what you've done. Another text. Check your front door. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. The condo hallway was quiet, no sounds from neighbors. I walked to the door, looked through the peephole. Nothing, empty hallway. I cracked the door open an inch, chain still on. Taped to the outside of my door was a small red envelope. No stamp, no address. Just my name in elegant black ink. Connor Walsh. I snatched it, slammed the door, locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Inside the envelope was a single folded card, old paper like parchment. On it, in the same black ink, your naughty list 2024 partial, parking spot theft, December 18th, ghosting Katie Reynolds, November 3rd. Lying to Ellen Walsh, mother, deck 20 hidden bottle of whiskey under the sink, you swore you quit drinking. The thing you did in college that no one knows about, yet my hands were shaking so hard the card blurred. I hadn't told a soul about the college thing. Not even in therapy. The phone buzzed again. New number. I opened the text, opened the balcony door. I left you something. I live on the 7th floor. Balcony faces the city skyline. No way anyone could get up there without a keycard or climbing gear. But I went anyway, pulled the sliding door open. On the balcony table where I never put anything was a small black gift box. Tied with red ribbon. I didn't touch it at first. Just stared. Then the phone buzzed. Open it, Connor. Or I tell everyone. I lifted the lid. Inside, a single Polaroid photo. It was me sleeping on this very couch. Taken from above, like someone was standing over me. Time stamp in the corner, 1:17 am tonight. My legs gave out. I sank to the floor. The phone rang. I answered without thinking. The voice was closer now, almost in my ear. Naughty boys don't get presents, Connor. They get visited, I screamed. What do you want? A pause, then that same soft chuckle. Be good next year. Or next Christmas. I won't knock first. The line went dead. I spent the rest of the night in my car, parked at a 24-hour Walmart lot, doors locked, watching my building from across the street. Christmas morning, I went back up. The gift box was gone. The Polaroid was gone. The red envelope was gone. But under my Christmas tree, where I hadn't put anything, was one new present. A small tag attached, for Connor, from your list keeper. I didn't open it. I threw the whole tree out that afternoon. Moved to a new place 3 months later. Changed my number. Deleted all social media. But every December, starting around the 20th, I get one text from an unknown number. Checking your list twice. I never reply. I just wait. And pray I've been good enough this year. My name is Riley Thompson. I'm 27, a graphic designer living in a cozy craftsman bungalow in Portland, Oregon, the kind with a big front window perfect for holiday displays. Every year since I bought the place in 2022, I go all out on Christmas lights. Thousands of them. Warm white icicles along the eaves. Colorful LEDs wrapped around the porch railing. Big glowing ornaments dangling from the trees in the yard. Neighbors love it. They even started calling it Thompson's Winter Wonderland last Christmas season. 2024, I started early, like mid-November early. The lights were up by Thanksgiving, plugged into smart plugs controlled by an app on my phone. I could change colors, patterns, even sync them to music. It was magical. Kids from the block would stop by after dark, eyes wide, parents snapping photos. Everything was perfect until December 20th. I was working late in my home office, the house dark except for the glow pouring through the windows from outside. Around 11 p.m., I glanced out and noticed something off. One string along the roofline, the red ones, was flickering. Not the programmed twinkle mode, erratic, like a short circuit. I checked the app. Everything green, no errors. I shrugged it off, finished my project, and went to bed. Next morning, coffee in hand, I looked out the front window. The red string was off completely, dead. The rest glowed steady. Annoyed, I grabbed the ladder after work, climbed up in the dusk and replaced the strand. Tested it, perfect. Back to full Wonderland mode. That night, same thing, flickering, but this time not just red. A few white icicles joined in, pulsing like a heartbeat. Slow, deliberate. I unplugged the whole setup, yanked cords from the outlets, went to sleep uneasy. December 22nd lights plugged back in during the day worked fine. By evening, the flickering returned, worse. Now patterns emerged. The colors shifted without my input, all red for 30 seconds, then blue, then strobing white like emergency lights. The app showed idle, no schedules running. I called the manufacturer. Smart plug glitch, they said. Reset the system. I did, nothing. Then the eyes started. It was subtle at first. 2 bulbs in the big front window garland multicolor LEDs stayed lit steady while the rest danced. One green, one red, side by side like glowing eyes staring in. I laughed it off. Coincidence, but they followed me. I had moved to the kitchen window, same 2 colors lit in the backyard string, living room. Porch lights picked up the pattern, bedroom upstairs, roofline bulbs blinked in sync. By Christmas Eve, it was undeniable. I sat in the dark living room watching through the window. The entire display dimmed except for clusters of 2 lights, dozens of them now arranged in pairs across the yard, green-red, blue-yellow, white-red, all facing the house. All steady, unblinking, like hundreds of eyes watching. My phone app pinged the notification I hadn't set. Who's been naughty? Heart slamming, I ran outside, barefoot in the freezing rain, yanked every plug, every extension cord. Lights died instantly. Relief, I left them down, called it quits for the season. Christmas morning, kids rang the bell, neighbors disappointed no show. I smiled, waved. That night after they left, I crashed early, woke at 2:47 a.m. to a low hum, like transformers buzzing. The house was lit up, not just glowing blinding. Every light in the neighborhood flickered in sympathy, but mine pulsed. I stumbled to the window. Plugs were out, no power source. Yet the eyes were back, brighter, closer, pairs inching toward the house bulbs unclipped, rolling slowly across the wet grass like they were crawling toward the front door. One pair reached the porch steps, stopped, stared up at me through the glass. Green, red, I screamed, backed away. Grabbed my phone 911, but as I dialed, the power cut. House plunged into black. Silence. Dawn came. Lights gone, bulbs scattered, burnt out, shattered like eyeballs popped. Police came. Vandalism, they said, kids pranking. No footage on Ring, cam glitched out. I moved out in January. Sold the house cheap. But every holiday season now, wherever I am, I see them. Pairs of lights in the dark, watching from the edges of my vision, turned toward me, waiting for me to plug them in again. My name is Hannah Cole. I'm 42 now, but this happened when I was 12. Back in December 1995, we lived in a small town in northern Minnesota, deep snow country, where blizzards can bury roads overnight and power lines snap like twigs. Christmas that year was supposed to be quiet. Just me, my mom, and my little brother Noah. He was 7. Dad had passed 2 years earlier, so we kept traditions: simple tree, cookies, 1 gift each. The storm hit Christmas Eve afternoon. By dusk, visibility was 0. Winds howled like wolves, snow piling against the front door. Mom canceled our church service plans. We were snowed in hard. Power flickered but held. We ate soup, watched old Christmas movies on VHS, and put Noah to bed early. Around 10 p.m., Mom and I were in the living room wrapping the last presents when we heard it. A heavy knock on the back door, 3 slow, deliberate knocks. We froze. The back door faced the open field, no driveway, no path anyone would use in a whiteout like this. The front door was blocked by 3 feet of drift anyway. Mom whispered, "Stay here," and grabbed the fireplace poker. I followed anyway, heart in my throat. Another 3 knocks, louder, patient. Mom cracked the kitchen window an inch, the wind screamed in, snow blasting across the floor. She shouted over the gale, "Who's there?" A voice answered, deep, muffled by the storm, but clear enough. "It's Santa. I got lost in the blizzard. The reindeer are tired. Can I come in and warm up?" Mom's face went pale. She looked at me, eyes wide. "It's a joke," she mouthed, but her hand tightened on the poker. The voice came again, closer to the window now. "I know you're alone tonight, Ellen. Noah's asleep upstairs. Hannah's right behind you. I brought something special for the good kids." He knew our names. All of them. Mom slammed the window shut, locked it, and dragged me back to the living room. Upstairs, now, we ran to Noah's room, locked the door, and huddled together. The knocks moved to the front, then side, circling the house. Slow, heavy boots crunching through snow that should have muffled everything. Then the fireplace. We heard scraping in the chimney. Soot falling. A low grunt, like someone squeezing through. Mom whispered prayers. I cried silently. Noah woke up confused, asking why Santa was coming early. The scraping stopped, silence, then from the living room a deep rumbling laugh. Not jolly, tired, hold. Ho, ho, ho. It echoed up the stairs, slow and deliberate. We stayed locked in Noah's room until dawn. The storm eased around 4 a.m. Power came back. We didn't dare go downstairs until full light. The living room was untouched, tree lights still twinkling. Presents wrapped, cookies on the plate, but one thing was different. In the fireplace, half buried in ash, was a single red mitten, adult-sized, soot-stained, frozen stiff. Inside the mitten, a folded note. In shaky handwriting, "Merry Christmas, Cole family. Sorry I couldn't stay. The reindeer got hungry. Next year, leave more cookies." So you never told anyone. Mom said it was probably a neighbor playing a cruel joke, but no tracks led to or from the house. No footprints in the snow around the chimney or doors. Just our own from earlier. We moved to Arizona the next summer. I've never spent another Christmas in snow. But every year on Christmas Eve, when the wind picks up, even in the desert, I hear it, 3 slow knocks. Somewhere far away, and a voice carried on the breeze. Ho, ho, ho. My name is Sophia Grant. I'm 35, married with 1 daughter, Grace. She's 8 now. We live in a Victorian house in Savannah, Georgia. Old hardwood floors, high ceilings, fireplaces in every room. The place has history. Previous owners said it was built in 1892, and sometimes things feel off, but we loved it. Especially at Christmas. This was December 2024. Grace was obsessed with her stocking. We hung 3 on the mantle, mine, red velvet, my husband Mark's, green knit, and Grace's, white with silver bells and her name embroidered in sparkly thread. She'd check it every morning, hoping Santa had snuck something early. We always left it empty until Christmas morning. Christmas Eve night, after Grace was asleep, Mark and I filled them quietly. Chocolate coins, small toys, a new pair of earrings for me, a watch for him, and for Grace a tiny stuffed reindeer she'd been begging for. We arranged them perfectly, snapped a photo for memories, then went to bed around midnight. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to a soft sound like fabric brushing against brick. I sat up, Mark was snoring lightly. The hallway light was off, but the glow from the Christmas tree downstairs spilled up the stairs, casting long shadows. I listened, rustle, rustle, coming from the living room. I slipped out of bed, grabbed my phone for light, and crept downstairs barefoot. The tree lights were still on, twinkling softly. The fireplace was cold, ashes from earlier still there. The stockings were hanging exactly where we left them. But Grace's white one was moving, not swinging, not from a draft. It was shifting slowly, sliding side to side along the mantel, like something inside was pushing it, inching it toward the edge. I froze, heart pounding, no wind, no open windows. The house was sealed tight against the December chill. I whispered, "Grace?" thinking maybe she'd snuck down. But her door was still closed upstairs. The stocking stopped. Then very slowly it began to rise. The top lifted, as if an invisible hand was pulling it upward from inside. The silver bells jingled faintly, one by one. I stepped closer, phone flashlight trembling. The stocking lifted higher, until it was floating a good 6 inches above the mantel, suspended, twisting gently in the air, then it dropped. fell straight down into the fireplace ashes with a soft puff of gray dust. I screamed quiet, choked. Ran to the fireplace, reached in, pulled it out. The stocking was empty, completely empty. No reindeer, no candy. No little note we'd tucked in, nothing. Just the white velvet, now smudged with ash. I turned it inside out. Searched the ashes, nothing. Upstairs, Grace's door creaked open. She patted down in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, why are you yelling?" I forced a smile. "Just drop something, baby. Go back to bed." She looked at the mantel. "Where's my stocking?" I glanced back. The white one was hanging again, perfectly in place, clean. No ash, as if nothing had happened. But now there was something inside it. A bulge. Grace reached up on her tiptoes and pulled it down. She gasped. Inside was the stuffed reindeer. But it was... The fur was matted, damp, like it had been outside in the cold. One eye was missing, replaced by a small, shiny black bead that looked too real. And around its neck was a thin red ribbon we hadn't tied. Grace hugged it anyway. Santa came early. I let her take it upstairs. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. Christmas morning, Mark found the other stockings filled as we'd left them. Mine and his untouched, but Grace's reindeer. When she squeezed it, it didn't squeak like the ones in the store. It made a low, wet sound, like someone breathing through a stuffed throat. We donated it to a charity bin that afternoon. Grace cried, but I told her Santa would bring a new one. That night, the empty stocking was back on the mantel, white, pristine, hanging straight, and in the morning, it was moving again. Just a little. Side to side, waiting, we took it down, burned it in the backyard fire pit. But every Christmas Eve since around 3 a.m., I hear the faint jingle of silver bells, coming from the empty spot on the mantel, where nothing hangs. My name is Father Daniel Moreau. I've been a priest at St. Michael's Church in New Orleans for 23 years. The church is old Gothic, with stained glass that turns moonlight into blood-red patterns on the pews. Midnight Mass on Christmas Eve is always our biggest service. Families packed in, candles flickering, the choir singing Silent Night so beautifully it gives you chills. This was Christmas Eve 2024. The Mass went perfectly. Attendance was higher than ever, maybe because of the rumors of a mild winter or just people needing hope. I gave the homily on light in the darkness, blessed the congregation, and sent them out into the night with, "Go in peace." The last families left around 1:15 a.m. I locked the front doors, dimmed the lights, and started the slow ritual of closing up, extinguishing candles, folding vestments, checking the sacristy. That's when I noticed him. A man sitting in the very last pew, alone in the shadows near the confessional. Tall, thin, wearing a long black coat that looked too heavy for Louisiana humidity. His head was bowed, hands folded. I hadn't seen him during the service, odd, because I know every regular face. I approached quietly. "Sir, Mass is over. We're closing for the night." He didn't move at first. Then, slowly, he lifted his head. His face was pale and naturally pale like candle wax, eyes dark, almost black, no reflection in them. He smiled, thin lips. "No warmth. I'm not ready to leave yet, Father," he said. Voice low, calm. "I've waited a long time for this night." I felt the air change thicker, colder. The remaining candles flickered as if a draft had come through, but all windows were shut. I kept my tone steady. "The church will be open again tomorrow for Christmas Day. You're welcome to come back." He stood slowly, the coat shifted, and I saw something glint under it, a small silver crucifix, upside down, pinned to his shirt like a mockery. "I've been coming here every Christmas Eve for years," he said. "You just never noticed me. I sit in the same pew. I listen to the same hymns. And every year I stay a little longer." I backed up one step. "Sir, I have to ask you to leave now." He took a step forward. "I can't leave, Father." "Not until it's finished." I asked the question I didn't want to ask. "Finished?" His smile widened. "The promise. The one made on the first Christmas Eve here in 1892. The builder of this church, my grandfather, dedicated it to God. But he made a bargain in the shadows. One soul every 100 years on this exact night to keep the building standing. To keep the faith alive. Tonight marks the century." My mind raced. I'd heard old parish legends, whispers of a curse, a debt, I'd dismissed them as folklore. He continued, stepping closer. You've been a good shepherd, Daniel. Kind, devout. You've never missed a midnight mass. You're perfect. I turned to run toward the side door, the sacristy, anywhere, but my legs felt heavy, like wading through water. He didn't chase. He just walked, slow, inevitable. I've waited in the dark corners of this church for 100 years, he said, watching, waiting for the right one. Tonight, I take my place, and you take mine. I reached the altar, grabbed the processional cross, held it up like a shield. He stopped a few feet away, laughed soft, sad. That won't help, Father. The cross has no power over a promise kept. Then he reached out. Not with hands. His coat opened like wings, and a cold darkness poured out, wrapping around me like smoke. I felt it enter through my skin, my lungs, my soul. I tried to scream. No sound came. The last thing I saw was him stepping into the light of the candles, his face changing, aging backward, becoming mine. My features, my collar, my eyes. He sat down in the front pew, folded his hands, and began to pray. I woke up the next morning in my bed at the rectory. Christmas Day, sunlight streaming in. I felt fine, tired, but fine. I went to the church for morning mass. The parishioners smiled, greeted me as always. Merry Christmas, Father Daniel. I smiled back, said the words, performed the service. But as I stood at the altar, I looked toward the last pew. He was there, sitting quietly, wearing my old face, watching me. And I knew he wasn't leaving, not ever. Every Christmas Eve since, I perform midnight mass. I preach, I bless. I send the faithful home. And when the last person leaves, I lock the doors and take my place in the shadows of the last pew, waiting for the next 100 years.